If hydrogen is to play a significant role in the energy transition, there need to be large volumes of clean hydrogen, and they need to be there rather in the short term.
If you really break down the numbers, you'll see you will need significant amounts of electricity at as stable provisions as possible.
We are dedicated to support our clients in enabling the green shift in shipping and energy. And in our view, that doesn't work without hydrogen.
The company's vision is to create a world that runs entirely on green energy. I mean, Ørsted naturally is clearly positioned in the field of green hydrogen. I mean, we are the leader today in offshore wind power production.
We offer logistic concepts for hydrogen that is produced offshore, including the storage methodology and the vessel design for it. On top of that, we also look into CO2 reduction potential. We do that for ship owner or vessel operator. And we also advise on solutions on how to realize those potentials.
We are integrating new production pathways for hydrogen in our production portfolio. So we have natural gas-based steam reformers as the base of our production. We are adding carbon capture to those units. We are feeding biomethane to our steam reformers, and we are deploying electrolysis as a new technology to produce green hydrogen from renewable electricity. We are involved in a number of initiatives that are deploying hydrogen refueling stations in a number of countries, such as Germany, Japan, or in California. And another good example is a fleet of fuel cell taxis that we are operating in a joint venture in Paris. As of today, there are 120 fuel cell taxis on the streets of Paris, and the plan is to scale up to 600 by the end of 2020.
We are developing right now the first hydrogen projects that have a significant potential for scaling up with complementary partners, and we really will focus on testing the scale-up ability, the flexibility of operation, and the durability of the technology, which is something we've done in the past to develop offshore wind farm suppliers. We traditionally work in close collaboration with those suppliers, and we intend to do the same with hydrogen.
We are looking into what happens if you have an offshore wind farm and you want to produce hydrogen from the offshore wind farm directly and produce it offshore. And that's where our logistic concepts tie into, where we look into if you have produced the hydrogen offshore, what do you do with it? How can you bunker it? How can you transport it from offshore to onshore?
Historically, hydrogen used to be an industry feedstock. Now it's emerging in a new role as a clean energy carrier for a broad range of application that goes far beyond the industry sector. So, for example, covering also the transport, heat and power sectors. The time horizon for green hydrogen to play a role in the energy market is a question of the volumes. So the technologies to produce hydrogen today are available, but they have only been used at small scale, and they are in particular capital intensive, and the cost for production needs to be reduced, and the technologies need to be further developed to produce hydrogen at the scale of conventional hydrogen production today.
There are quite a few questions that are better answered in onshore operation of electrolyzers right now, such as real flexible operation, long-term flexible operation of electrolyzers, durability of the membrane, and really scaling up to significantly large scale. So that seem to be questions that are better answered onshore installations. But the vision for producing hydrogen offshore is a great one, and it has its value. This is an additional potential to grow more offshore wind, which is Ørsted's home turf. And yeah, we believe with a high amount of full load hours we can provide with offshore wind, and simply scaling realities, we're fairly well positioned to integrate offshore wind farms with large-scale electrolysis systems.
We believe we need to scale up the demand and the distribution of clean hydrogen to the end users, and then following the scale-up of clean electricity production, look at a transition from decarbonized or blue hydrogen to green renewable hydrogen in the future.
The energy transition is a stepwise transition. So we won't be able to, from today to tomorrow, produce all the hydrogen that is needed in the world from green hydrogen. So I think blue hydrogen is probably the first step, because technological it's further, you can use it. And countries like Norway, with players like Equinor, are also pushing it. And then slowly you will transform to green hydrogen when your efficiencies are up for electrolyzer, for example, and you have some cost decreases. On the other hand, it's not only the stepwise approach from blue to green. What I also think is, if you talk about energy transition or decarbonization, it's important to look into electricity, decarbonizing that. And we are, like in Germany, we're not far ahead, but with 38% renewables in the grid last year, we are quite good. But then on the other hand, you also need to replace hydrocarbons that are used, for example, for fertilizer production, in steel, glass industry, or for heavy transport.
The newest models of fuel cell cars that have the best range can do 550 kilometers in practical use, which is, I think, already quite good, and you can bridge the still quite large distances between the stations. In Germany it can actually work, so due to the density of the network, we have 75 stations in operation today, and 25 more to come before the end of this year. And with a network of 100 stations, if you live more or less in the right place, it can work already in day-to-day use.